boogeyman is real, and you found him.
All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up.
What's blood for, if not for shedding?
I'm your number one fan.
I like to dissect girls. Did you know I'm utterly insane?
We all go a little mad sometimes.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
7 days.
I am Dracula.
We have such sights to show you.
Boy! I said, I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just gonna bash your brains.
I am the eater of worlds and of children.
What's in the fucking box?
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
One by one, we will take you.
Never get out of bed again!
You gotta be fucking kidding.
It rubs the lotion on its skin or else gets the hose again.
Welcome to prime time, bitch!
Welcome, horror fans. It is Thursday, 7 p.m. Central Time. It's time for another episode of the Week in Horror podcast, the only podcast where the bar is buried as deep as the bodies. And if you, dear horror fanatic, are listening to us at the top of the week, remember, we do this live every Wednesday. I know today is Thursday. We're a day late, but there's a reason for that. But we do this live usually every Wednesday right here on YouTube, so we hope to see you in the live chat. Come and hang out with us. This week, we are looking back at select horror films released June 2nd through June 8th. Thank you all so much for joining us for what will surely be a bloody good time. I am JL, so I hope you all are doing fantastic this evening. Thank you for joining us. So, yeah, wow, yeah, so I do apologize. I want to kick it off. First and foremost, let's make sure we do the very first thing that we always have to do, and that is put up our Patreon banner. Those are all these amazing names down here that help us to make the show possible. We do appreciate all of your support. We couldn't do the show without you, so thank you very much. You guys rock. And yeah, I do owe everybody an apology. So I was not able to do the show yesterday. I was preoccupied. We had a small family. I would say a small family emergency because the emergency didn't turn out to be as bad as it could have been. Is what happened. So apparently, I was here in the office and I was working, and Angela decided to take the dogs out for a walk, and so she took Oso out, and everything was fine. Then she took Torque out. She always takes Torque out second because he's smaller, so his walks typically don't last as long. And so she takes Torque out, and apparently they walked around the corner, and an irresponsible owner had allowed their staffy, their extremely untrained staffy, to basically escape their yard. And she walks around the corner, and she's got Torque on the lead, and there's this, 80 pounds or like 70, 80 pound staffy in the middle of the road. Okay? Sees Torque, beelines right for him, and catches Angela by surprise. She didn't even see it coming. She was kind of like, the dog was just there. The dog was just on him. Now, the dog immediately went for Torque. Now, from what Angela told me, she thinks that in actuality, the dog wasn't trying to attack Torque, that the dog may have been trying to play with Torque. But because the dog is extremely unsocialized and poorly trained, it just kind of went hog wild. And a dog that size, especially with a Staffordshire, pit bulls, as there's people who know them, with a dog that size and that strength, they don't know what they're capable of. And Torque got pretty dinged up. He got fairly dinged up. Fortunately, Angela swiftly, mom, like dog mom, swooped into action, and she handled the dog, or she, did her best to handle the dog. Got scratched up a bit, got one in the arm pretty good. She didn't get bit, but just fought with this dog to get it off Torque, and it took forever for anybody to come and help her. And because she was around the corner, I couldn't hear her from where I am because I was in the editing suite, so I couldn't hear anything going on, even though this is literally right around the corner of the house. And so she manages to get Torque away. She picks Torque up, carries Torque off, and she drops her phone in the process. But she's got Torque. And finally, the owners come out. They get a hold of their dog. They take that dog in. And as Angela's walking away, she hears the woman say, "We've got to do something about this dog," as they're leading the staffy back to their place. And Angela comes into the house, and Torque had a good hit, two good hits, one in the side of the face and one on the shoulder. So he got like a ding on the shoulder, which wasn't that bad. A good solid scrape across the cheek that was pretty good, and his little ear was nicked 3 times, where the dog's rear teeth had probably grabbed him. So he's got three little nicks right in the side of his ear. So, but that was pretty much the extent. He didn't get hit in the eyes. Nothing was broken, even though the staffy, when he grabbed him, she tried to shake him. So it was just, fucking chaos. And of course, I hear about this and I leap into, action because, I'm totally like after the fact. Angela's done all the hard work. Now it's time for me. And so I go out and I do my thing, and then find Angela's phone, bring it back, get the collar and the leash back, and because the dog ripped Torque's collar off, and so get the collar and the leash back, grab the grab her phone that was dropped in the yard, and meanwhile the woman who owns the dog, her husband is like toddling around behind me, saying like, "Hey man, I'm so sorry. I'm just trying to ignore him because I don't want to do something. I don't want to make it worse. Not to also." Because Torque wasn't terribly injured, fighting with, play fighting with Shotzi and play fighting with Oso, he's gotten dings before. He's actually a pretty tough dog. He's a terrier, but when it came down to it, I was like, the dog doesn't deserve to be punished for the idiocy of the owners, but if the dog hurts anybody, obviously, something's going to have to happen. So I was kind of like, if we have to take Torque to the vet and report this, like how did the dog get hurt, then then we'll have to bring it up. But I think after this situation, after I went over to the house and I ostensibly talked to them, let's say, but obviously I went over there and I talked to them. I don't know if it'll happen again because but nonetheless, but hopefully they'll keep the dog in check, or they get it trained, or they'll put it up for adoption, or they'll rehome it, give somebody who's got the land and the space and the time to dedicate to training this animal. But I didn't want to punish the dog, because if I report it to the state, if I report it to the city's come out, they're going to claim the dog and they're going to destroy it. So it's a very pretty dog. It's very pretty staffy and deserves a better home than the one that he's currently in. So, I didn't want to put that on the dog. I wanted to put it squarely on the owners. And so that's where we're at right now. And we had to deal with that to make sure that, because he was kind of traumatized, and make sure that, his wounds are cleaned up, and make sure they don't, get infected and swell up. He's got all his shots. So rabies and other things, not a problem. But you just want to make sure dog bites aren't good. I mean, I myself got snagged by a dog that I was breaking up a fight. The dog grabbed my hand and got me pretty solid. I still have the scars, on both hands from where the dog got me. And I had to go in and get a number of shots, just to be on the safe side. So, but Torque is okay. Angela is okay. Angela swooped in and kicked ass. I just toddled along behind her to put the fear of God into everybody. And, but that's pretty much it. But Torque is okay. He's doing fine. He's back to his old self, a lot of love and a lot of love, a lot of treats and just a lot of attention. And so, there's no vet costs necessary because I know how to handle, I've had German Shepherds for a long time and I've had dogs all my life. So I know how to handle minor dog injuries. So that's pretty much it. So, but I don't think they're going to be bothering us, and I don't expect to see that dog. If I do see the dog again out in the street, I'm just going to call the city this time and be like, the second time the dog's been out, because they need to control the animal. But that's what happened. That's what kind of delayed it. And given the situation, and I was, I had Torque, Angela was at work. I was dealing with Torque, making sure Torque was okay, just watching over him, making sure everybody was taken care of. And I was super, super tired. And so, because I was trying to balance stuff, and I was like, I cannot, for the life of me on Wednesday, I could not do a solid show. I could not give you guys what you all deserve, and that was at least my best attempt at a funny show, or at least an entertaining or informative show. I couldn't do it. I was like, So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna have to put it off. So I not only had to delay the show on Wednesday, but I also had to delay, like on my personal channel as well, because I'm only halfway through with editing that my latest video. So my content is delayed a day. I'm probably gonna drop that on Friday, and then of course, drop it tomorrow. And then, of course, the show got delivered. So, yes, I can't deliver solid. Thank you, Sir Little Wolf. I appreciate that. But that's what happened. That was the small family emergency that took place. Everybody's okay. Torque's okay. Angela's okay. I'm fine, whatever. But everybody's good. It could have been a hell of a lot worse. But Angela knows how to handle it. She knew how to handle it, and she swiftly handled it. And so, responsible. If we have dogs, we got to be responsible dogs. These are responsible dog parents. You all know this. I'm preaching to the choir here and preaching to the converted. If you're going to have animals, you got to be responsible animal handlers. And we know how to handle dog. I've had dog fights break out in the house. You have multiple male dogs or multiple females. You've got to know how to handle a dog fight, and because they break out sometimes, and I know how to do that, and so does Angela. So, we're good to go. All right. But yes, appreciate everybody's, I put the messages out on YouTube so everybody saw that, and on the Discord channel. So I appreciate everybody messaging me, checking in to make sure everything was okay. Everything is good. Just wanted to give you all a heads up as to why there was no show yesterday and why we are delayed till today. So that's pretty much it. Yeah. But nonetheless, we have a very, very oddball show tonight. Occasionally we get episodes here at Week in Horror where not all of the movies are good. Like I said, we bury the bar pretty low, probably lower than the bodies. And sometimes, you get, very rarely do we get like all good films. Like a few weeks ago, we had an episode, the one that Aaron was on, all good movies. All 4 of them were good. And then more often than not, we get like maybe 2 good ones. I think 2 good ones, 2 okay ones, 2 middling ones. We get, some that are like 1 solid film, and then like 3 kind of like bleh, 3 kind of like bottom of the barrel. But occasionally, just occasionally, we get a weird one. We get like just an odd episode. Something is very funky, not really thematically themed. And so I'm curious that this is going to be a weird episode. I'm just going to say this, of the stuff to talk about, because despite the weirdness of the movies, there's deeper stuff to go into, which I find really, really, I love how movies can be like that. I was just like, what is this movie? And then all of a sudden you've got like stuff in the background, so you've got background information that is really, really big. So I'm looking forward to diving into that. But before we dive into anything, let's see who we have in the live chat right quick. I see Case Cooper's here. Good to see you. All is well. Thank you very much. Raven Darkstar as well. Good to see you. Thanks so much for hanging out. Sherry Tilly. Hey. Good to see you. Thanks so much for being here. Travis Brown is here. Says, evening, y'all. Just finished working at Scarborough and finally watched Talk to Me. Talk to Me is an interesting concept, but I agree with JL that some parts of it played it too safe at times. Agreed. I would agree with that. And I think, that, and while there were some really, really nice moments in that, really fantastic cinematography, really fantastic acting. But my biggest issue was that if times it played a little safer than it should. If your film never exceeds your opening 5 minutes, like your opening 5 minutes is where you grab them. If the film never exceeds that, that's problematic. And that beautiful opening shot, that uncut follow, that the uncut steady cam all the way through the opening and to that branch stick, to that moment, the film never exceeds that, which is a damn shame because it had every opportunity to do so. Now it hits, it's kind of that's kind of like a shock moment. The rest of the film hits kind of like an emotional aspect where it's kind of like the deep psychological horror and shit like that as you're working through the trauma, like as she's working through it. But unfortunately, it plays it too safe sometimes, and it kind of telegraphs the ending. That was my take. But yeah, I agree with you. Let me see. Who else do we have here tonight? As well, I see. Oh, and Casey Cooper, congratulations to you. You're talking about, on your dev edit. Fantastic. Good to go. You're going to get your notes back. Hope everything is going swimmingly in that one. I cannot wait to read it myself. So congratulations. Jay Vers is here. So with 2 weeks in a row. Well, in spirit anyway. Good to see you, Jay Vers. Appreciate you hanging out. You are a member. You are a member of the Army of the Dead. So, and thank you to all of you members of the Army of Dead. Please enjoy all those horror emojis, or those icon emojis that I made for you. I hope you dig them. So, but thank you very, very much. Wrote in the last name is here. Gabba to you. Hope you're doing well. Appreciate it. As well as I see. That is true. Although this is not the podcast to be talking about current political events. This is, of course, the summary, or the judgment came back. The judgment came back, on all accounts. So, but yeah, we don't know what'll happen. But I did find it funny that his sentencing will be July 11th, which is 7-Eleven, and that's very convenient because it's a convenience store. I had to explain the joke, and I totally ruined it. So, but yeah, I found that to be humorous. Like, 7-Eleven, that's cute. Anyway, Joshua Lee, good to see you. Thanks so much for hanging out, and I do appreciate you being here. Sherry, let's see, Omniorus Boros says, if you ever wondered what Jail Warren's real name is, yes, it is Jehoshaphat Loves. I made that up. I have like that, but yeah, there's a number of like theories as to what the J and L in my name stand for, or if they really even are my name. I guess you never know. Oh, but good to see you, Omni. Appreciate you hanging out. Left-handed Jedi as well. Good to see you. Thanks so much for hanging out. Let me see. Oh, and the George said, it's been forever, my good man, for a $1.99 super chat. Appreciate that super chat. It says, hello, sexy party people. Thank you so much. And the George said, it's been forever. I hope you are doing well. I hope you are feeling well. And, you know, it's been fantastic. It's been forever since we've seen you. So I'm glad you're here to pop by and hang out. Angel Rivera is here as well. Good to see you. It says, don't ever apologize for taking care of family. Absolutely. Thank you very much, Angel. I do appreciate that. Angel. So I do appreciate that very, very much. But yeah, you know, I also, when I kind of dropped that message, I was kind of tired and I felt like I left people in the lurch. It's kind of like, you know, it's weird. It's like the balance. Like you get that. I kind of felt it was like I sent the message and then I was like back to doing what I was doing. And then I was thinking about it a couple hours later. I was like, I feel like I just kind of dropped something and they're like, what the hell happened? You know? And so I almost felt like I left people in the lurch. So I feel kind of bad about that. So I figured I owed everybody an explanation for doing that. So that's right, Travis Brown, because we're family. Yeah, because family's more important. Just as Vin Diesel, it's the greatest lesson ever. You know, family. I can't even do a Vin Diesel voice right now. I really can't. I was like, gonna do Bane. Oh, Bane, family. Actually, that's more like Bane from the Harley Quinn series. Although I love that. I love the dude doing his voice. It's absolutely the Bane in the Harley Quinn franchise. In the Harley Quinn franchise on HBO cracks me up. Gosh of Heckfire, good to see you. It says, what up, pimps? Only 34 words. Yeah, that's true. Good to see you, Gosh of Heckfire. Denova28, good to see you. Says, gotta say the doggos. Absolutely, we don't deserve them. Let's see. Torque 1, Staffy 0. Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Let me see. Who else do we have here tonight? Who else do we have here? Yeah, Sir Little Wolf is here. Good to see you. Says, please, everyone, please hug your dog or cat for us. Absolutely. Let me see. I make sure I got everybody. I think I did. Did I catch everyone? It is an oddball show. Not just the fact that it is on a Thursday. You know, this is just going to be an interesting, weird little show. And I feel it's odd. It's also odd because I'm holding the show down myself. So I don't know. We're gonna get through it. It's gonna be interesting. But before we dive into anything, oh yes, Charlie Welch. Good to see you, Charlie Welch, the only man on the internet you never make a bet with because his name is Charlie Welch. I know he loves that joke. But good to see you, Charlie. Thanks so much for hanging out, Welchy. I do appreciate you being here. Omni says, I wish they would have shown more Harley and Poison Ivy action. We all wish they showed more Harley and Poison Ivy action, you know? Absolutely. But I love that show. Oh, yes. Fucking Bane cracks me. Bane and the Joker, that sequence in season 2 with the Joker having Bruce all tied up. And he's like, where's my freaking electric car, Bruce? I fucking love that scene. I put my down payment 2 years ago. Oh, I love that whole moment when the Scarecrow like unmasks him. And then all of a sudden Joker's like, what? Fucking brilliant. Dib, good to see you. This is Lurk Mode as always, but here. Thanks so much, Dib. Appreciate you hanging out. I hope everyone is doing fantastic tonight. All right. Now, before we dive in, I'm sorry. I'm trying not to crack up. It got stuck in my head now. Where's my goddamn electric car, Bruce? Oh, damn, that shit is funny. All right. Before we dive into tonight's selections, there's a couple of things that we're going to jump on. And we may end up spending an inordinate amount of time on them because some of y'all may end up hating me after this. But first and foremost, like usual, previous week pops along, things pop up, and we like to talk about them. And of course, this would have been good to talk about yesterday when the show normally airs, but we're going to talk about it tonight. And I've got two trailers for y'all queued up in the Terror Tube. And first and foremost, we're going to check out the trailer because we only saw the teaser beforehand. The teaser, which gave away very, very little and was very, very mysterious. But we have the full trailer for Longlegs, the newest one with Nicolas Cage, where Nicolas Cage apparently plays a serial killer. And I have not watched this yet. I heard it drop. I found the link. I downloaded it, set it all up, but I have not actually physically watched it. So this is my first time sitting here. We're going to jump in. Let's check out this trailer for Longlegs coming out this year.
What have we done?
We need to armor up. Big time. Fuck yeah.
Hey, give me my ball.
Is it scary being a lady FBI agent?
Yeah.
Take a nice long look. A letter was left with the bodies. Signed with one word.
I saw a beast rise up out of the sea with 7 heads and 10 horns. And on his horns he wore 10 crowns. On each head was written the blasphemous name.
What aren't you telling me?
He'll kill and kill again.
I know you're not afraid of a little bit of dark. Because you are the dark.
Do you still say your prayers?
Never once. They scared me.
Hello?
You could have made nice with me. But you didn't. And that has led to all of this. I'll be waiting.
Yes, that was the trailer for the full trailer, the first full trailer for Longlegs, which reveals still doesn't reveal much about the movie, so I am definitely looking forward to that. For those who missed it the first time around, Longlegs is a horror film coming up and that I believe is releasing July 12th, 2024, so July 12th of this year. In pursuit of a serial killer, an FBI agent uncovers a series of occult clues that she must solve to end his terrifying killing spree. And obviously, protagonist Macon Monroe is taking on Nicolas Cage's Longlegs, or the serial killer that he plays in this. The film is written and directed by Oz Perkins. For those who are unfamiliar with Oz Perkins, he was I believe, the writer and director of The Black Coat's Daughter, as well as I Am the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House. So solid director. Very, atmospheric horror is his forte, and that's why this whole film, Longlegs, from that trailer gets an absolute. It's just giving me like When Evil Lurks vibes, and that atmospheric, slow burn, chaos in the background kind of horror. Like you don't know what's really gonna hit, and I fucking love that shit. He did an episode of the new Twilight Zone that came out in 2020, and so he's got a bunch of good stuff coming up. Yeah, I know he's got Longlegs, which is hitting in July. Then he's got The Monkey, which comes after that, and then Keeper as well. So Oz Perkins, fantastic stuff. I'm really looking forward to Longlegs. But yes, July 12th is when that comes out. Freaky. Now, let us know down in the comments below or at weekinhorror@gmail.com if based on the full trailer that just recently dropped, if you're interested in seeing this. Does it look like there was a clue right before the date was shown? Yeah, we saw the code pop up. The code that obviously he uses very Zodiac style in that respect. I'm just going to say this, and I don't think this is a spoiler. This is pure speculation. I think Macon Monroe is his daughter. I think that's the kicker. I think Macon Monroe is the serial killer's daughter. So that's my speculation. Okay, I'm just throwing it out there. I don't think I'm spoiling anything. We were open to speculation as to whatever it might be. Illegitimate daughter or adopted daughter, I don't know, given all the family elements there and what's playing out. So my guess is that she is in some way related to Nick Cage's character, whether by either adoption, kidnapping, or blood relative. I think that she's his daughter. So that daughter likely put up for adoption after he disappeared or maybe something happened with the mom, but I think they're related. Yeah, that's my theory. But it's a film theory. So, but yeah. That's my thoughts. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. If you think I'm on point, you think I'm completely off based on the trailer, but that's where I'm going with that. Dan Shire, good to see you, says I'm late. Start over. Well, we haven't even really begun, good sir. But good to see you, Dan. Appreciate you hanging out. Thank you so much. But that's my thoughts. That's my thoughts on Longlegs. Josh Lee says, Nick definitely got the creepy voice down. Oh yeah, definitely. I'm absolutely loving the When Evil Lurks vibes. I love that style of horror. So I'm excited about Longlegs. I really, really am. Good stuff. Macon Monroe is so talented. She's a fantastic actress. And of course, Nick Cage. You're never going to get me off the Nick Cage train. Gotta love it. All right, moving on to our second one. So this one, a little bit different, because we're gonna go, and I don't know. Like I said, y'all may not dig with this one, but we do have it here. It finally dropped. It's not a teaser. It is the full trailer for Beetlejuice. And because we all grew up, all of us, the vast majority of us are Gen X or earlier, so we know Tim Burton. We were raised on Tim Burton horror, and we know Beetlejuice. We watched the original movie, loved it. We all pretty much have it all memorized. It's how Deo got into our lexicon. And so here we go. We have the full trailer for Beetlejuice. Let's dive in, because I got some things to say about this. Let's check it out. Cue up the terror tube.
I'll take good care of her.
You touch her, and you're a dead man.
You are the dead man.
See you later, Ralph.
Holy shit! You just fucking killed your stepmom, Alex!
I'm still your Captain Foster. You must treat me with respect.
can't believe Grandpa's dead.
Death is hard.
Yeah, sometimes I think life is harder.
When I was a teenager, a trickster demon terrorized our entire family and tried to force me to marry him. I believed he was gone forever until you found this in the attic.
Ew. Who's Beetlejuice?
Don't ever say that name.
Beetlejuice.
No, Astrid! I am serious! If you say his name 3 times, he will appear.
Beetlejuice.
The juice is loose. I'm gonna make you so happy.
The living. The dead. Can they coexist? That's what we're here to find out.
Where's Beetlejuice?
Where's Beetlejuice?
Beetlejuice!
Feel free to express yourselves. Don't be afraid.
You're a figment of my imagination.
Really? Is this a figment of your imagination?
All right, so, and I love that little moment between Michael Keaton and Catherine O'Hara. She's like, ugh. That got me. I admit that was quite funny. But all right, so obviously, okay, so I have some things to say about that. The primary issue is that it looks like it does look like it's going to be fun. It looks like it'll be a fun nostalgia trip. I only wish, given that I know the film Beetlejuice so well, as many of you do, I don't think it's controversial of me to say that there were a number of things in that trailer that obviously harken back to the original film. And I felt, I'm just going to fucking say it. I felt that what we just saw was very, very lazy. That if you're going to go and you're going to bring Michael Keaton back after all these years, okay? 1986 or 87 is when this came out. The original one, I believe, is 87, if I remember correctly. Let me make sure I got that correctly. 88, sorry. Is it 88? God, 88 was such a good fucking year. So 88 is when that came out, okay? Same, first Child's Play. Friday the 13th, Part 8. Okay, 88 was a fantastic year, and there is a lot of a lot of good physical effects, a lot of practical effects that are in there, and you can see probably some stop motion as well. That's gotten quite good because Tim Burton is like one of the masters of stop motion, or utilizing stop motion, so it's always top notch. But throughout that entire trailer, I saw more references, more first film references than anything else. So that was the thing that stuck out to me. The zipping up her mouth. Okay, so like that's a gag from the first film with Gina Davis. Towards the end of with Gina Davis, the face thing, where he turned with the cameras to the back, and they're like that goes back to the first film. The jumping down and the the interest in Lydia, that is the whole end plot thing of the first film, and it's kind of like you're gonna kick that off with that. All these years have passed, and there is no progression whatsoever, because although the first film, or Part 7 was 88, my bad, sorry, thank you. The first film, Beetlejuice was a zany character, but Beetlejuice was a villain. Okay, was nefarious in that respect. Okay, there was no punches pulled. The cartoon made him more of an kind of like an anti-protagonist, or kind of like a goofy, like just a goofy nut job. But the first film, he was most definitely a villain. I'm not getting those vibes off of this interpretation of him. I'm getting more of the slapsticky goofball thing instead of like the legitimate villain that he was, who uses slapstick comedy and raunch to cover up the fact that he is a dangerous and nefarious, he's a dangerous and malevolent spirit. Okay? The darkness of the first film does not appear to be present in this one, because if you, I don't think I'm wrong in saying this. The first film had extremely dark undertones. Okay? Apart from the big set pieces, from the Deo moment, from the family, to the art pieces, to the wedding down at the end, to their trip through the underworld, all these magnificent little set pieces, but there are dark underlying themes underneath all of that, and I don't feel that that's here. Now, that doesn't sour me on the movie. I'm still going to see it. I'm obviously going to see it because it harkens back to my childhood. But I don't have as high hopes for the film as I did. And that pains me to say, because I love Tim Burton. Even though he's kind of he has a kind of a catty history with one of my favorite directors, with Kevin Smith. The Scissorhands come out. But I love his ideas. I love his vision. Big Fish is still one of my all-time favorite films ever. It's in my top 10 of all-time great films. Big Fish is just because it just just gets me in the feels. I've seen the movie no less than 20 times, and it still gets me every time. So, but I love Tim Burton, despite Planet of the Apes. And I love his vision. I loved, obviously, Nightmare Before Christmas is an annual watch. Corpse Bride is absolutely brilliant. Big Fish is fantastic. Sleepy Hollow is an absolute blast. It's so much fun. But maybe they Raven Darkstar brings up they did it because the fans wanted it, so they rushed including the script like AVP. It's possible, yeah, that this was rushed, and so that all they had, instead of having the appropriate amount of time to come up with new material and new interesting character arcs, that would have been golden. But now they're forced to rely on the stuff that was already done, over 30 years ago. So, I was like a 70-30 on this, but now I'd say I'm more of a 50-50. I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to watch it and I'll decide then in the end, because if those dark undertones that really balance out the zany comedy, the slapstick comedy aspects, okay, like if you don't have like those dark things, like the overwhelming sensation that Beetlejuice is going to steal your daughter and take her to the underworld, where she will be his bride for eternity. That's the whole point, is to steal this girl away from her family. If you and the idea that the whole idea that dead is better in that respect. The notion that he's a malevolent spirit, if that isn't fanning the flames underneath everything, and underneath every note of exposition that comes in this film, it's not going to be what the original was. The original really kicked off with the idyllic family, with the idyllic couple living in their idyllic little home in the idyllic little Hamburg, in like this remote little town, and then opens up with their tragic death because they try to do something good, avoid the dog in the road, and then crash. They crash through, then they drown, and then that's how the movie opens up. There's dark themes there, and I don't know if those are going to be here, which kind of bums me out. So we're going to have to see. But for all of you out there, let us know down in the comments below, or at weekinhorror@gmail.com, if you are interested at all in seeing Beetlejuice and the sequel to Beetlejuice. Michael Keaton's return as the ghost with the most. Not to mention the fact that, it's got a fantastic cast, not only the return of Catherine O'Hara, the return of Winona Ryder, but then they're adding in, of course, Monica Bellucci looks fantastic. Love the practical effects there. Jenna Ortega is along for the ride as Lydia's daughter. Willem Dafoe is in there. Justin Theroux. I love Justin Theroux. I've loved him for forever. But yeah, we got a fantastic cast coming along with this. And yes, Omni Ouroboros brought up that Jeffrey Jones is not returning. There's a reason for that, is because, Jeffrey Jones got him, well, we don't have to dive into it, but for those who know, if you know, so there's a reason why Jeffrey Jones is not a part of why his character was killed off. That's why they're opening up with his funeral. And then you've got obviously Otho, the character of Otho. That actor passed away, and so if I remember correctly, make sure I get his name correct, because Glenn Shaddix, who was a bad guy in Sleepwalkers. Unfortunately, so everybody else is coming back for it, and I'm looking forward. I'll be looking forward to seeing what Monica Bellucci is doing in this, what Willem Dafoe is doing in this, what Justin Theroux, obviously, I think playing Lydia's husband. Not sure, but yeah, there's some interesting things that got my attention. Some stuff that doesn't. I guess we're gonna find out. But let us know down in the comments below if you're looking forward to the film, or if you're kind of on the fence, or if you're not looking forward to it at all. Does that nostalgia button need to be pushed? Very, very curious to hear your thoughts on that. Good to see you, B. Blanco. It's good evening, everybody. I'm late as usual, but you're here. So, as Cheech Marin said in Ghostbusters 2, better late than never. I appreciate you hanging out, bud. All right. Minus Lydia and Adam. So, well, Lydia's in there because Winona Ryder's Lydia. So, Dunstan check-ins, and yes, in Demolition Man, he was the little kimono wearing guy that was following around after Cocteau. Yeah. And then he was like little right hand, and then he becomes the right hand man of Dennis Leary at the end of that movie. I fucking love Demolition Man. You're on TV. And he hits him with the television. Fucking great. Brilliant writing. Just brilliant. Just one of the best action films of the 90s, Just brilliant shit. Well, keep dreaming. I fucking love that movie. Okay, I can quote that movie all day long. Just so good. All right. Well, we've got some films to dive into tonight. Some interesting selections. It's going to be a very, very oddball show. So it's a shame that none of the other guys are here tonight, but we're going to dive in. And so let's start kicking off with the first one. And the reason why I've spent enough time or so much time talking about these ones is because we don't have trailers for two of our films. Two of these movies don't have trailers for them. Like, they don't have them. They don't exist. And there's a reason why they don't exist, but we'll dive into that, obviously. But for our first film tonight, released June 2nd, 1970, we have Hatchet for the Honeymoon from Mario Bava. Let's check out this trailer. Cue up the terror tube. Oh, Alec Baldwin. Yeah. Alec Baldwin. Yeah. Alec Baldwin, obviously, it was Gina Davis, Gina and Alec Baldwin. Obviously, I don't think necessary for them to return. They've obviously moved on. So I'm glad they didn't have to, revisit the Maitlands, like the Maitland, the Maitland's ghosts. So I think we're good on that one. But let's cue up the terror tube. Check out this trailer. Killer Santas. Love it. Love me some Joe Bagos.
Off your mask.
Oh, you gotta love the 70s. All right, that was the trailer for Hatchet for the Honeymoon, which I know did not feel like a horror trailer, but it absolutely is. Technically, it's a giallo film, but definitely in the slasher vein. So the film is directed by Mario Bava, written by Santiago Moncada and Mario Bava, story by Santiago Moncada, and starring Stephen Forsyth, Dagmar Lassender, Laura Betty, Femi Benusi, and Jesus Puente. The film follows the primary character John Harrington, who is a handsome and debonair, very upper crust owner of a bridal salon, or essentially what is a bridal salon, or a kind of like bridal gown design studio, and secretly he is a serial killer who targets the models who model the bridal wear that his design studio creates. So like he'll seduce them, bring them in, have them model it, and while they're dressed up, he will then murder them. And the reason he does this is to try, and because every time he does it, he regains memories of a traumatic event in his past. And the objective is to try and recall those memories, to try and reconcile this trauma in his past, to understand like why he is who he is. And so he's a serial killer trying to figure his way, figure out what's going on. And of course, he's a fantastic supporting cast, very, very interesting, and a lot of different elements that go into this. Now, first and foremost, it's a fascinating little film. Obviously, for those who are fans of Mario Bava and Mario Bava's approach to giallo horror, the one thing you're going to note is that it's Mario Bava's mastery of photography and cinematography that really, really captures this. I love films shot in Italy. I love the architecture of Italy. I've stated numerous times, talking about Italian horror and pretty much all Italian cinema. I absolutely love what they bring, the production values that they bring to various films. And Bava, knows how to really capture what Italy, especially the older world areas of Italy, have to offer with his uses of light and shadow, his uses of color, how he color corrects, and how he ensures that what he wants you to see on screen is like he draws your focus, to where he wants you. And he doesn't take anything for granted. Like everything is intentional. That's why it's weird that Hatchet for the Honeymoon is one of the more, I would say, unknown or the more obscure Bava films. Now, at the time in his filmography, this obviously, Bava had established himself obviously in 1960, I believe it was 1960 with Black Sunday. That's what put him on the map. So Black Sunday was massive. And then of course, movie to movie. He worked with many, many people, worked with Argento a lot. And, but with movies like Black Sunday and Black Sabbath, The Whip and the Body, Blood and Black Lace, establishing his name in the 60s. And then this one came along in 1970. But this one was preceded by what is universally agreed upon to be his masterpiece, which was Kill Baby Kill. And Kill Baby Kill is an amazing fucking film. That came out in 1966. And Kill Baby Kill kind of like set the tone for that almost like set the tone for the remainder of his career. And I think a lot of people might agree that not a lot of directors he never really I don't think he really ever got the opportunity to try and surpass himself after Kill Baby Kill. And unfortunately, Hatchet for the Honeymoon kind of like was one of those films that you pick up. It's a fascinating story, interesting story that plays, of course, on psychological tropes, and as much a psychological horror as it is a psychological horror regarding identity, as much as it is a slasher film. So, and it weaves those elements together really, really well, especially in 1970s Italy. So in that respect, the film itself didn't get a lot of attention, and I think it's very, very undersold. But the reason it didn't is likely because of the problems that occurred when making the movie. Now, Bava himself, obviously Bava and his writing partner on that, Santiago Moncada. Bavio and Moncada had Moncada came up with the idea. Bava helped him flesh it out, and they came up with this really, really interesting story about this killer. And with this kind of exploration of human psychology had only really been explored a few scant times. One of the big times being obviously, Hitchcock's Psycho in 1960. But the idea of the villain where gender conceptual is, where gender trends or gender concepts, where the villain, traversed those boundaries so freely within the aspects of his mind, that wasn't really explored. Not in the 60s and the 70s. Only the most I would say at the time, only the most daring of filmmakers would be willing to do that. Hitchcock being one of them, Bava being another, Argento being one. You see a lot of that in Italian cinema, pushing the boundaries and pushing that envelope. So Bava obviously took it under his, took it to task and delivered. I think, and when he cast Stephen Forsythe, excellent choice, fantastic choice in this. Unfortunately, it was when production was chugging along that's when problems began, because originally, for those who may not know, Laura Betty, who was, extremely well-known Italian actress, worked a number of times with Federico Fellini and Pasolini and Bartolucci, and was kind of like a fave amongst many Italian directors at the time. And Betty had like a reputation, and I believe that at the time she was dating one of the producers of the film. And so because she was dating one of the producers of the film, the producer wanted her in the movie. And so kind of against Bava's wish, or not really, in agreement, because producers sometimes get their way, pretty much cast, I said Bava, not Baba. Bava. Anyway, I'm saying it correctly. You're just giving me shit from last week, Raven. So Laura Betty was essentially cast in the film, but there was no place in the story for her. So Bava had to come back and basically write an entirely new character for her, which was the character of the wife, which was the character of Mildred, was written specifically for her, because originally the wife wasn't in that. Now, I find it interesting because working on the fly, the character of Mildred actually lends some credibility to the pathos, to John's pathos. So he did well working under the gun in order to create this part for this character. But in doing so, that reduced Dagmar Lassender's role, because Dagmar Lassender is supposed to be the girl that winds up being John's downfall, because he actually falls in love with her. She was supposed to be the girl that upset everything, and it turns out at the end that she was part of a sting. She was like the setup from Inspector Russell, Jesus Puente, who's coming in there to he knows that John is the bad guy. And so we got this great little detective cat and mouse kind of thriller thing set up. But then the introduction of Mildred turns it more into a psychological examination rather than a straight up gallows slasher, which I found fascinating. Because Bava would definitely go with the more heavier slasher elements, and kind of forego the deeper psychological explanations, but the forcing of the wife character almost put, the introduction of the wife character kind of forces his hand in that. So that's why the film, tonally, when Mildred is not in the picture, feels somewhat different, because it's from John's perspective and John's introspection. And then whenever he's around Mildred, it's like that just adds in, because they've been married for years. Mildred is the one who's financially supporting the bridal design studio, and she constantly lords over his head, so she's emasculating him in that respect, which makes sense, playing into the serial killer tropes, the constant emasculation, loss of power. But whenever he's away from Mildred, his thoughts never go to Mildred. There's never the preoccupation until after, he dispatches her, and then we get a kind of Edgar Allan Poe, Telltale Heart, following me around, finally disposing her, has the ashes, and then the bag with the ashes, and then the ghost is following him and haunting him. Now they could be together forever. Very, you can see the Tales from the Crypt took a lot of inspiration from that, where the bad guy winds up, trying to eliminate the thing that harms him, but winds up being stuck with it forever. So really, really fascinating. It gets the story gets pulled in a number of directions. And I will say that it is fairly obvious, I think a lot of you out there probably picked it up as well, that Hatchet for the Honeymoon, despite being as obscure as it was, you cannot deny that this film, with its themes of objectifying women to the point of using mannequins as a representation of the objectification of women, that they are just there to pose and be an image. So that kind of that extreme objectification of women to the point that they're just objects to look at, like that, to serve like whatever my introspection is. And John's pathological dedication to his image, obviously these themes informed both Spinell's Maniac in 1980, which was like I think it was fairly obvious. Those themes run throughout the entire film, and then obviously the self-care routine and the narcissistic dedication to the narcissistic kind of like vision of oneself harkens to Patrick Bateman, which I think Bret Easton Ellis, not only did Mary Harron take inspiration from that for American Psycho in 2000, but I think Bret Easton Ellis as well took inspiration for that for the aspect of for the character of Patrick Bateman in 1991, his 1991 novel. Those characteristics travel across. So I have no doubt that even though Ellis has never said so, you can't deny the fact that there are giallo moments to American Psycho, even though it's focused on 80s identityless yuppie, corporate America, and the whole ideology of the 80s, where surface is everything. But that tracks. And I think that those elements were utilized to help develop the character of Patrick Bateman. I think Ellis used them, and I think Mary Harron capitalized on them by utilizing that imagery to put it into the movie to give a sense of Patrick Bateman's personal routine. And then, of course, Joe Spinell, in the creation of his character in Maniac, Frank Zito, of the serial killer Frank Zito, obviously takes a number of elements to that, given that Frank is taking women's scalps and putting them on mannequins that he has throughout his home, and then the kind of like pseudo-sexual relationship he has with them, the objectification to the point that they can't even be real, that's obviously here. Whereas the same thing that John is going through, that Harrington is going through. So as underrated and undersold as Hatchet for the Honeymoon is, and as kind of like tonally inconsistent as it is at times, I think that this film is way more important than a lot of people may actually realize or may actually know. Because I noticed that when we put it up, that a number of people had never seen it before, weren't even really aware of it, and I thought, well, this is important because obviously the film has had long-reaching, like over 50 years, has had long-reaching influence into the horror genre today, and I think that Bava was really trying to do something while working under the gun, was able to pull something really, really fascinating off by, even though it resulted in, I think, kind of like diminished the overall quality, because it's definitely not his best film, but it's definitely where, if you're a Bava fan, you must see it. So, but willing to push those boundaries to explore a killer to this degree with a level of internal exposition, which I think is fascinating. So you got Bava doing it, with his brilliant cinematography and his master photography and how to basically frame a sequence, and his ability, his editing capacity, ability to slow burn all the way up to a fantastic climax, which that ending with the paddy wagon when they're leading him away, and then the ghost is there because they found the bag, and so then he freaks out, because he'd rather be dead. In the end, really, really excellent work. And deeply, deeply inspiring. You can see the elements that have lent themselves, that other directors have glommed onto. And I got to give Hatchet for the Honeymoon. It's up there in the Bava selection. So if you are a Bava fan, definitely check it out. It's currently available, if I remember correctly. It's available on Sling right now. Sling, and I think it's on Amazon as well. I think that's where I watched it, was on Amazon Prime. So, but definitely check that one out. There's going to be some things that really stand out, and I think they really, really capture you, which is really, really cool. So, got to give it up for Hatchet for the Honeymoon. Now, the question that I have for the audience is, given Bava's unique eye and his willingness to push boundaries and do interesting things and explore concepts that not a lot of directors were going after, except maybe in Italian cinema, because Argento and Fellini and a number of others were really going after this, because we've talked about it constantly, that the Italian cinema at the time in post World War II was very much of a let's help each other rather than directly compete. Is like, we'll all rising tide lifts all boats, and so we will work collectively to always ensure everybody's putting out their best. Which is why you'll see like Bava, after he'd already established himself, coming back and working as like second unit or like optical effects for Argento, just to help him out. It's like, yeah, let's help each other out. So given Bava's the extraordinary filmography that he has, I wanted to ask the audience, what do you think is the best, or what was your favorite Mario Bava film? Like the best or your favorite Mario Bava film of his filmography. So many good ones. Blood and Black Lace, of course, Black Sunday. So many friggin' fantastic ones. So let us know down in the comments below or weekinhorror@gmail.com your favorite or what you think is the best Mario Bava film. And I'm not saying Baba. You guys are killing me. 60s hippies became 80s yuppies. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Sounds like some of the plot of Psycho. There were inspiration there. Psycho informed because, friggin' Hitchcock pushed boundaries. And so Psycho informed a lot of directors. Those directors informed the ones today. So I love the how you can track those inspirations through time, which is really the whole point. Like one of the major points of this podcast is looking at those threads that interconnect the entire web of the horror film genre. How they inform each other and how they're informed by the world around us, what was going on at the time. 1970, prevalence of serial killers was really, serial killers were prevalent in America. At the time between the 60s and the 80s, how many popped up? Like it was just like all of a sudden there because technology was getting higher. Technology was improving to the point that we could start being aware of them and catching them, not to mention the advent of profiling techniques in order to understand what makes them and then recognizing serial crimes for what they were as opposed to random acts of violence. And so all of a sudden we become more aware of serial killers. We start finding them. Then the technology gets really, really good. And now all of a sudden there aren't that many serial killers anymore because now we're catching them before they can become serial killers. So it's really, really fascinating that there was this moment in the 60s, 70s, and 80s where all of a sudden it was this. That was the era. And a lot of directors took inspiration from that. Absolutely. All right. Travis Brown says, Hatchet for the Honeymoon feels like that Tales from the Crypt episode. Lover, come hack to me. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. The chicken-legged house. Oops, that's Mario Baba Yaga. You guys are fucking killing me. Y'all are killing me. Extra J, good to see you. Thanks so much for being here. Javier Hara says, was this Baba the one that someone stole his car and killed his dog? You're fucking... Y'all are funny. Y'all are funny. Just cute. Cute. Gotcha Backfire says, Blood and Black Lace. It was a fantastic one. He's got a bunch of good ones. Let us know down in the comments below. Remember, those interactions really help with the algorithm. They help to push the show. So, whether it's a hi or whether it's a comment or, whatever. But yeah, thumbs up, thumbs down. All this stuff really, really helped the show. So thank you very, very much, Baba Yaga. Y'all are fucking killing me. All right. Well, unfortunately for this next film, we do not have it. Well, maybe it's fortunate because, I'm not going to fuck around. That's true. Raven Darkstar, Jack the Ripper was not the first serial killer. That's true. Not the very first one. But Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Not Hunter Hearst Helmsley, but H.H. Holmes. H.H. Holmes was not the first serial killer in America either. He was not America's first serial killer. That title goes to a woman. So I have to look up her name, but yeah, she was a Black Widow. Yep, and then they never caught her. She disappeared. Eventually wound up burning the family home down and disappeared without a trace. So yeah, you're killing me, Smalls. Absolutely. All right, so. Looking into this one, released June 3rd, 2000, we have The Evilmaker. So, we'll go and run this one down really quick. So, The Evilmaker, sometimes we just, we get him here. Anyway, the film follows, directed by John Boker and written by John Boker, starring Stephanie, kind of like the B softcore horror legend Stephanie Beaton, Felicia Pandolfini, Arlene Henry, Dory Schwartz, Betty Griffith, and Rob Miracle. Serena, the primary character Serena, played by, of course, Stephanie Beaton, returns home after escaping an abusive relationship and decides to spend time with three of her friends from high school. They take a weekend out at the beach, and it seems like it's going to be fantastic. And then until unfortunately, just as it is to happen in slasher films, their car breaks down, and what starts out as kind of like a creepy night, out in the middle of nowhere, turns into a weekend of hell as the Evilmaker descends upon them and they have to try and survive. Yeah. So this film is not good. I do wish... Okay, first I will say this film was damn near impossible to find. This film was very, very hard to find. I eventually had to get a physical copy of the movie, which was a pain in the padded ass, but I did get it. They're obscure, but now I have this obscure. I can't tell you how many times it's happened where I've had to track down an obscure physical copy of a movie in order to like actually watch it. Gorgasm was another one of those that I had to do. But yeah, I found a copy of this, and because it is fucking ostensibly it's fucking horror. It's fucking horrible. It's not good at all. Now, it's a shame because I'm going to give a little credit where credit is due. Despite the fact that John Boker's had a pretty long career. You know, he's had a pretty solid career going all the way back to like the late 90s. I think it was like 97, but I think he'd been working before that as well. But he's given us a number of goofy little movies that have come along, but think of him very much in the vein of he's in that Asylum to Full Moon Pictures kind of area, but he focuses predominantly on shit like Aaron Brown would star in, you know, where it's the flash in the pan, you know, bloody set pieces, lots of TNA, you know, that's pretty much where his forte is, what he focuses on. And Axe Grinder and shit like that, Thing 666, you know, Topless Tory's Tomb of Terror, I think was another one of those. But yeah, you know, not great stuff. But, you know, sometimes popcorn film is a popcorn film, and that's kind of what Evilmaker's trying to be. The problem is, despite, you know, when you look at Boker's other work and the fact that he oftentimes can cast talented people, he's also writing his material. So when your script is shit and you have no money, it doesn't matter who you cast, because if you can't see what's fucking happening, then what's the point? Yes, yeah, witchcraft like film. Yeah, Stephanie Beaton, well known for the shit that Stephanie Beaton has been in is very much along these lines. If I remember correctly, yeah, she was in Witchcraft. I wanted to double check because she was in 3 Witchcraft films, which I believe was 9, 10, and 11. She was in Witchcraft 9, 10, and 11, and has been doing various shit here and there. I've seen a number of films that she's been in. All of them goofy as fuck. But, you know, hey, she's working. She's you know, found her niche. She's like Aaron Brown. She's doing her thing. I think she's got some talent to her, but, you know, what are you going to do? So, but the Evilmaker in itself, classic premise. We've heard it before. You know, films like The Butcher, you know, that was also equally as bare. I think this film actually may be worse. This film is probably worse than The Butcher. Because at least The Butcher, you know, had some level of coherency. But this one is, I'm not sure how films, this is what boggles my mind. I'm watching this movie and I look back and I look back at a film like The Butcher, and I get why The Butcher was able to get money. A film like The Butcher, despite how bad it fucking was, how terrible the script was, how terrible the acting was, how terrible the cinematography was, the sound, everything, just bad, just not good. You know, nothing, no redeeming value whatsoever. But it's still like, you know, got a budget. Like, how the fuck they do that? Because Alan Ritchson was in it. At the time, Alan Ritchson was becoming a draw. He was hot off American Idol, had gotten a lot of attention from that. You know, was becoming a CW guy, and that's how he landed The Butcher. He was an up and coming name. That's how they secured that funding, because he was up and coming CW name. Good to go. You know, fantastic. And there you have it. This doesn't have anything like that. The script is fucking abysmal. I mean, I wouldn't even call the deliveries line readings. I wouldn't. You know, they're just like, it almost feels like the entire script is fucking ad-libbed. Like, at times I wasn't even sure that there was a script. You know, like Jay and Silent Bob, like, it's like, there's a script? What? And so that's how abysmal the kind of deliveries were. Set pieces were not great. Lighting was terrible, and it's difficult to like see what you're trying to see because the director has no focus as to what they're trying to look at, is what they want the audience to look at. It's just kind of haphazard splatter and TNA on the screen for the sake of splatter and TNA, which I get that there's a fandom for, but at least even with that fandom, who that's all they're looking for, you still need to have a cohesive narrative that is paced. At least follow the rule of 3, and this director doesn't. The pacing is completely off, editing is terrible, and nothing really falls along. And it boggles my mind that just on the premise of TNA alone, and even an actress like Patricia Beaton, who's arguably the only recognizable name here, if you're familiar with working with the witchcraft franchise. I don't even know, but then again, it's hard to say even how much budget they got with this one, because I couldn't find budgetary numbers on this. By my estimation, this thing was less than $100,000. I'm thinking that this was in the neighborhood of, I could be wrong, because official numbers, like you've heard Eugene explain before, official numbers can vary depending upon what you're budgeting for and what you actually spend. So it looks like they spent 60 to 70K. But this thing could have, by the numbers, been budgeted for 150. So, whatever. But it doesn't look like they spent 100,000 on this one, because it's all shit. Like, the camera is shit. The lighting is shit. Like, nobody really knows what they're doing. And it was kind of like, it felt so amateurish. Almost like I woke up one day and I wanted to make a movie, man. So just put stuff in front of the camera. We'll just fucking make it, we'll just do it as, on the night. It was like, no, I get that there's the kind of idea to do that, but Aaron Reese says they put it all into craft services. That's probably, they might have to kind of compensate for the fact they're doing this fucking movie. But yeah, this is one of those primary examples, scraping the bottom of the barrel. It'll make you question why films like this are able to get money. But there is obviously a draw for it. They're still John Boker's still making movies. Stephanie Beaton's still getting cast, which is great. I'm glad they're working. I'm glad they're kicking ass and taking names and paying their bills. That's fantastic. That's the dream, is to do it as a job, to go from job to job and be successful enough that you get hired again and again, that you audition and you get cast. Because even individuals like this, John Boker still has to play the game to get his funding. Even Stephanie Beaton still has to play the game and go to auditions and read for parts and get cast. They know she's got the TNA. She knows what part she's reading for. She still has to be able to act. Even the background for films like this, there's still a process. But it just didn't feel that way, which is weird. So for those who dig this kind of film, even though I would say an Aaron Brown film, like a Misty Monday film, has a bit more class than this does, because at least you have people behind the camera who give a shit about what's being filmed. Erin obviously does, as an actress, care about what's going on in the film. She has an understanding as to what her job is as an actor. She understands how the camera works, the relationship of the actor to the camera. She knows how to play to it. She knows how to play against it. She knows, that's a professional actress. I didn't see anything like this here. What I saw was bordering on amateur prawn. Without, amateur softcore. Amateur softcore prawn is what I saw. That was trying to be something that it wasn't. But the director didn't know how to make it that way, which is just disturbing, because watch a few Lloyd Kaufman films, watch a few Full Moon Pictures, and you'll have it down. It's not fucking hard. So maybe it's ego, maybe it's lack of money. I have no idea. But there are films like this out there. And shockingly, Evilmaker got a sequel called Abomination, Evilmaker 2, which kind of picks up after the events of this one. I haven't watched it myself yet, but I probably will now that I'm aware of it. I gotta put it up there in the encyclopedia. But yeah, not fantastic. Those are my boobs on the screen. You better make them look good. You can guarantee that Misty Monday, whenever you see on the screen, they look fantastic. They do. Because if we're going to see them, they might as well look fantastic. Even if we're just going to put her up on a rack and then throw red paint at her. That's a reference to, The Screaming Dead, where they just basically strapped her up and just haha, red paint, and one CGI wound and then red paint all over her just to make it look like she's being slashed. Not good. But She looked good. She looked fantastic. But yeah. No. Jay Ver says, you're making him sound like the Rob Zombie of his era. Wait, who? Boker? No, Boker, no. Boker's not the Rob Zombie of his era. Boker, it's like, no. Rob Zombie is a fucking auteur compared to, Rob Zombie is like fucking Kubrick compared to John Boker shit. So, I'll give it like that. But nonetheless, a film that you probably can't avoid. If you like really obscure shit, this is one of those titles for the obscure horror hound who just wants to see everything that gets made. For those who are drawn to movies like Found and August Underground and the Poughkeepsie tapes and, those other big names that just get thrown around way too much. They're actually tamer than you'd think. But yeah, in that respect, this is one of those films. So low budget effort, not even sipping on Harper again. That's awesome. But yeah, one of those low budget efforts that just really doesn't have any focus or any vision. Doesn't even try to be experimental in any way. It's just the same rehash bullshit that we've seen a number of time again. But hey, if there's a market for it, do what you know. And I will say that for John Boker, he found his niche and he is running with it. And I doubt that he will be forced out of that niche anytime soon. So what can you say? Nonetheless, I do have to ask. Stephanie Beaton, lead actress in this one, has had a pretty solid career. Just solid meaning that consistently working, has had back-to-back films, is doing just fine. Question being, though, because Stephanie Beaton is also often referred to as a scream queen, because those are the roles she plays. That she is a scream queen. She's one of the more obscure scream queens, but she's a scream queen nonetheless. Doesn't have obviously not Sidney Prescott or Laurie Strode or any of the other like Jamie Lee Curtis or Neve Campbell or so many Black. There are too many in my head. But the question then is, well, I think it was really a question. I just say like, yeah, obscure scream queen, yeah. But the question I have for y'all is, while we all know the names of the big scream queens, we know all of them. Okay? Fantastic lot, all of them. We love them all. But my question is there an obscure scream queen that happens to be one of your favorites? One that you really, really love? That, not a lot of people know about or doesn't really maybe get the opportunities that all the other ones get? Who is your favorite obscure scream queen? Or do you know of one that maybe not everybody really ever talks about or maybe nobody else knows about? So of the obscure kind of film, now this question may be a bit nuanced for the audience members who really kind of digest really obscure horror films, but there are some out there. Obscure scream queens. Let us know down in the comments below or weekinhorror@gmail.com your favorite obscure scream queen, a name that not everybody really knows, Stephanie Beaton is definitely in there. I'll give her that. All right. Aaron Reed says, Rob Zombie was tested back by a plot line and decided to treat them all like trash from then on. Yeah, that's hilarious. Travis Brown says, could you say Christina Ricci is a scream queen? Yes. I would say Christina Ricci is a scream queen. I would agree. Christina Ricci is a scream queen. Aaron Reed says, Alexander Daddario gets left off the list all too often. Oh, yes, magnificent set of pipes there. But Alexander Daddario, scream queen? Has she done enough horror to be considered a scream queen? I wonder. I don't know. Like legit, I know Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the beginning, or Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I know she was in that one, but, and we Summon the Darkness. She's done some horror, but nothing, I wouldn't say scream queen status. I personally wouldn't give her scream queen status. I wouldn't. Not yet. Maybe one day, but not quite yet. I don't think she's earned that title yet. But then again, maybe you disagree. Let me know down in the comments below or weekinhorror@gmail.com. All right, let's move on to our next one. This one that we actually do have a trailer for, released June 5th, 1981. We have Final Exam, 80s slasher film. Let's check out this trailer. Cue up the terror tube.
Can I help you?
God damn it!
At Lanier College, they have the finest security, the best teacher-student relations, no fraternity hazing, strictly enforced curfews.
Shh. What was that?
And a killer. He's come back. Final exam.
When are you going to realize that the whole world isn't made of psychopaths?
There's a murderer around campus killing people.
Some may pass the test. Lisa! God help the rest.
Courtney! It's me, Radis! Let me in! Courtney!
Final exam. He's come back.
So that's interesting because it always got the end of the trailer is like he's come back when in actuality there's no explanation behind because so I don't know why they say he's come back, but actually there's a reason why they said that obviously. But let's break this one down. So Final Exam, slasher film, written and directed by Jimmy Houston and starring Cecile Baghdadi, Joel S. Rice, Deanna Robbins, Sherry Willis Birch, and Timothy L. Rayner. The film follows a nameless killer, nameless and backstoryless killer as he stalks the remaining group of students that are left on campus days before the beginning of summer vacation. So, like everybody's taken off, and there's a few finals that are being taken at the time, and those remaining students become the target of this killer. And so he pretty much walks through, the lot of them. Now, the kicker on this one, and it's interesting because no, Angel Rivera's does Final Exam get an F? Does Final Exam get an F plus? Is like actually no. I would not give this, obviously, 1981, 1980s, year of the slasher film. Like, where everybody jumped on it. Thanks to Friday the 13th in 1980, The Burning 1981. The market was flooded with imitation slasher films that were always trying to reinvent shit. You've got, coming out of Canada, coming out of Mexico, coming, obviously, in America we had our own. The list is long and distinguished. I know that joke there. I'm aware of it. I'm not going to tell it. But there was always this driving force to try and do things a little bit differently than everybody else did, to try and put their own little spin on these things and try to not really reinvent the wheel, but try to at least provide something slightly different than everybody else was doing. Okay. And I will give credit to Jimmy Houston for trying to do that with Final Exam. The entire focus of the film itself was Jimmy was trying to lend more, I would guess, depth to character exposition and development than to the killer or to the blood and gore effects. Now, there are some good moments in this one. Obviously, there's some decent kills. There's obviously the one that the kill in the freaking the gym where he strangles him where he basically garrots him with the freaking the weight line, and then of course the classic slasher one where he catches the girl when she's all naked and stabs her, and then of course a lot of good pop out moments, pop out from the corner, very like that. Obviously, the problem is that the cinematography of these kills, because Jimmy wanted to reduce them and not make them the prime focus of the film, then they wound up taking a lot of those inspirations from other films, from other more established movies. Obviously, there are big time parallels to Halloween in this one. In fact, a number of critics said it was a Halloween ripoff. I'll say actually technically with the choices that they make of the kill of shots of the killer, of like especially that big sequence, so constantly showing the killer backlit so that they're cast in shadow, so you only see the silhouette. That's harkening back to The Shape. The idea of like the formless, the detailless killer is just the form, the boogeyman. So that definitely pulls from Halloween. But then you have a lot of moments where the killer's like, the arm comes through and stuff like that. That's all Friday the 13th. Initial Friday the 13th, 1 and 2, where the vast majority of the kills were Jason's arm, or there was Jason's mom, like Tom Savini's arm actually, but would grab someone and then something would happen. Okay? Or like would come out, you wouldn't really see any details, all of a sudden the person's gone. That's all straight at Friday the 13th. So Friday the 13th jumps, but then there was some cinematography in there that I think, because this came out in 81, that would eventually go on to inspire Nightmare on Elm Street. Because if you look at a lot of the color sequences, especially when going down into the basement or what, like the mechanical room and shit, the offsetting of blues and purples and reds would inform a lot of Wes Craven cinematography in Nightmare on Elm Street. So just to convey that kind of basement feel, that otherworldly basement feel where you are in danger because the colors of the environment are telling you that you are, because these are alert colors. So they literally kind of like feed on each other. But the problem is Final Exam, in trying to be different, wound up doing too much that other people had done. Now, I don't have a problem with anybody like drawing off of previous films that they like or previous films that were good. Take what works, but make it your own. The problem was that in the end, because we spent so much time building up the various characters, which is actually, I found refreshing. All of the actors here are solid. Cecile Baghdadi was fantastic as Courtney. So good as a scream queen. Even though she really never got the opportunity, but such an effective scream that her scream was actually used to dub over another girl's scream because she couldn't scream at all. I thought everybody was good here. Joel S. Rice's Radish, the nerd, was partly the inspiration for Randy Meeks in Scream. Kevin Williamson took that inspiration for his character, for the character of Randy. There's a lot of influence of Animal House here, where you can see the different cliques and how they prey on each other and how they mess with each other. So everything is kind of, conveyed here appropriately for the time period. It's just that when building up taking the time to build up all the characters, because there's a lot of talking, there's a lot of walking sequences, a lot of people chatting, a lot of people talking about, themselves and, the various expositions about what's going on and reflections about what was going on in the world and things that they were hearing about interpersonal relationships on campus. And because we spend so much time there, we don't have a lot of time to dedicate to really elaborate kills or big impressive like jumps, like scare moments. So we get the kind of like inspired moments that were obviously taken from other movies and just kind of thrown in because we need them there because this is a slasher film. The best set piece was obviously the student, the girl who was in the relationship with the teacher. When she shows up to, she's like stripping all her clothes off. She's like, "Oh, we're ready to go." And then he comes up behind her and stabs her. That was the biggest moment there. Everybody else is kind of like, it just happens, and you can tell, like this, it almost felt forced because I think Houston was in his efforts kind of painted himself into a corner. And that's what kind of like dragged the film down a bit, is because people saw it and it feels like the movie is one thing, but then it turns into where the slasher almost feels like secondary to everything else, to where it's almost like college comedy drama, like a college dramedy. And then there's a slasher involved, which creates a tonal imbalance in the film, which may push it aside. But then again, it's still edited very well. The editing is great. The cinematography is fantastic. I will give credit. Houston is really, really good at cinematography. There were some choice moments in this where, especially with his wide shot pullouts and his wide shot slow zooms, I thought were really inspired. That I thought were just that was a fantastic way to shoot that scene, to really capture that. And I thought there were really, really good, smart choices here, for conveying the slasher side of it. So there's a lot of things that work to both sides. And I thought Houston, had an interesting idea, but I think this is one of those examples where a person took a risk, and where the director took a risk, was trying to do something a little bit different, try to put his own kind of spin on things, but wound up, unfortunately, that's the danger of taking risks. Sometimes they just don't work out. And I think that, unfortunately, that's kind of what hampered Final Exam. It drops the ball in a number of areas where it should have been really easy to not do so, but it manages to keep that ball going in areas that would be really, really tough, But so much focus on doing the new thing, they wind up, not working where it's supposed to count. Well, I think that's the important thing. So unfortunately, it's an oddball little slasher film, but one I think that is worth a watch, just because the little tricks of the trade that one could pick up from Houston on this, from his cinematography, from his directorial choices, how he had actors approach certain sequences. I think that is really good. I think Jimmy Houston, you could actually learn quite a bit just on the bits and pieces that you could pick up through this. When the set piece, like when the one pledge is strapped to the tree, there's some really fantastic moments there that are just really, really strong. And then in the hallway sequence, when the Randy character, when Radish is running to try to get to her dorm room to get her attention, and he winds up getting killed because he comes to the door and kills him. But those moments there, I'm just like, and of course when she finds Cecile, when she finds the dude's body, when she finds Radish's body, when she leaves she gets scared and runs away from the apartment, there were some fantastic camera choices in that hallway sequence. So really good stuff. Really, really smart choices. I just wish it hadn't dropped the ball where it would be so easy to maintain it. It would be the big issue here. But for those who really dig 80s slasher films, don't miss it. It's a lot of fun, and it should be. It's a good little like popcorn horror film. That doesn't give any exposition, and it's weird. Like I said before at the very beginning, the trailer said he comes back. Well, no, he never came back from anywhere. He just shows up and starts killing students. That was playing off of the Halloween trope. The night he came home. So that's where the big, kind of thing. They were kind of drawing off the Halloween energy that was going on at the time from a few years before, and kind of like, I think it's a marketing thing. What are you going to do? But nonetheless, not a bad film. It's currently available over on AMC. It's on AMC Plus via Amazon. If you have an AMC subscription, you can check it out there. But you can rent it on Amazon as well. But not a bad little film. Some decent little moments, Better than most, not the best. I will say that. Better than most, but not the best. But it's kind of like, I would say in the vein of like Happy Birthday to Me, or Killer Party. It goes up there in those areas. Graduation Day, shit like that. So definitely check it out if you really dig 80s slasher films. This is one you can add to it. Definitely. You'll see the inspirations as they come along. But the question that I want to ask the audience, going back to mentioning the 80s era of the slasher film, okay? But this specifically was 1981. 1981. We are Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1974. 1979 Halloween. 1978 Halloween. 1980 Friday the 13th. Okay, 1981 The Burning. But 1981 was the year that really, really picked up where the slasher subgenre got its momentum and really started running. So my question for the audience is, in 1981, you may have to go back and look and check your dates like this if you're not familiar at all. But if you are, I'm curious as to what was your favorite 1981 slasher film. 1981 slasher film. What was your favorite? What do you think was the best of that year? 1981 slasher film. What was the best of that year or your favorite of that year? Let us know down in the comments below or weekinhorror@gmail.com. There's so many good ones to choose from. There absolutely are. But I'd love to know what you guys think. So he's back and he's pissed. Gandhi too. I think I remember that from somewhere. That's a reference. I know it is. Angel Rivera brings in with My Bloody Valentine. Fuck yes, Canadian. I fucking love Canadian slashers in the 80s were the shit because they went full bore trying to they tried to reinvent the wheel, which was neat because we got a lot of really fascinating stuff. Gosh Backfire brings up Night School. Fantastic. Rave Doctor says none. I hate hack and slash. Oh, that's a shame. But I get it. UHF, of course. One of my favorites, absolutely Friday the 13th Part 2, because I'm a huge Friday the 13th fan, but Friday the 13th Part 2 was 1981. Quickly greenlit sequel given the success of Friday the 13th, and plus I love fucking, Amy in that film. She was magnificent. Amy Steele was great as Ginny. Just the survivor at the end, kicking ass, taking names, the whole, putting on the sweater shit to masquerade his mother. Oh, inspired, fucking brilliant. Damn. Javier Hara says, 1981, I was 11. No horror movies for me. Oh, that's a shame. What a bummer. But yeah, brilliant stuff. Really, really good stuff. All right. Let's move on to our last film, and I'm kind of on point. I'm kind of where I need to be. Fantastic. I've managed to time this out quite well. I think I'm getting the hang of this. This solo stuff. Well, unfortunately, there is no trailer for our next film. But we'll dive right in because there's some stuff to talk about here. So, released June 8th, 2004, we have Tomb of the Werewolf, and also known as The Unliving, which I think it was released later by The Unliving. But nonetheless, Tomb of the Werewolf, directed by Fred Olen Ray, who we've talked about before on the show, written by Fred Olen Ray, and starring the legendary Paul Naschy, Jay Richardson, Michelle Bauer, Stephanie Bentley, Danielle Petty, Lacey Andrews, Beverly Lynn, and Leland J. So the film follows a group of, I guess they're supposed to be documentarians, very, very horny documentarians or whatever, where they go out to they're all hired to go out to this like a palatial estate, which happens to be the home of the late Count Voldemort Daninsky. And the woman who's caretaking the place happens to be Elizabeth Bathory. And so all these people are brought out to this place in an effort to try and for Elizabeth Bathory to resurrect the dead Count Voldemort, because Count Voldemort is a fucking werewolf. And she needs, and because of Elizabeth Bathory's deal with the devil, she needs Voldemort to, kill people as sacrifices. He's her weapon. And so bringing these, so she needed someone from his bloodline to come out and resurrect him. And the, chaos ensues, as well as a whole range of TNA. So the film definitely borders on softcore. Very much so. Okay, obviously with, he's like Michelle Bauer is in this. Michelle Bauer's in this, and Stephanie Bentley is in this. Beverly Lynn as well. So yeah, it's Danielle Petty. A number of actors who work in that industry. But that's really softcore. So very much in the like Aaron Brown, the work that Aaron Brown, like Misty Monday does. As I reference her because she's one of my favorites because I feel that she's underrated. She has girl so much talent. But obviously this is a horror film / softcore. I would say bordering on softcore film. But as far as the movie goes, there's just not. It's exactly what you would expect to be. It's low budget, even though they found a fantastic set to shoot on, and the estate that they shot on is fantastic production value. But that's not so hard if you're just renting for a time and you're not really doing anything extreme. But nonetheless, they go in, they're doing their deal. It's okay written, it's low budget, high titties, oddly compelling to a degree because some of the acting is not so bad. I was kind of surprised at the quality of the performances, even though, because none of them ever felt like they were phoned in. I legitimately felt like these the people who were hired this were just, doing their absolute best and giving some decent, I wouldn't say nuanced, but decent performances. Higher quality than you would anticipate, which I would say elevated the, I went in with very, very low expectations, but it's exactly what you would expect, So anticipate lots of sex, there's a lot of like sex scenes in the deal. But when it comes to the gore, when it comes to the horror, it is a fucking werewolf film. So when it comes to that, the practical effects are pretty on point. I really dug the werewolf effects, even though the werewolf kind of looks kind of like what poofy, because he's like, boy, he's like a mane, but it's still a werewolf. And the werewolf effects are pretty solid. I would say they're solid, not the best, but they're pretty solid. And the gore effects, like you said, they're like grab people ripping their fucking throats out and shit. And it's pretty gory, pretty bloody. Got to give it that. So not bad. I'll say this. The big kicker on this one is that despite how little the movie has to offer, it's what's in the background that counts. And I'm not talking in the background of the film itself, because it does, the film itself is pretty, self-explanatory. Werewolf movie with titties, right? It's not hard. The formula is not difficult. But the kicker here is kind of like the unsung werepoodle. I like it. Wrote another name, werepoodle. The unsung legend behind the character of Voldemort, of Count Voldemort. and that is Paul Naschy. Okay? So for those unfamiliar, and this is where this gets really, really fascinating. So Paul Naschy, otherwise known as the Spanish Lon Chaney, okay? Paul Naschy had a legendary career, absolutely, and a very storied one as well. You know, kicking things off, quickly becoming a horror icon, well known in Spain for films that were going to try and cast Lon Chaney and were unable to do so. Paul, usually picked up the slack and became that. Portrayed not only the Wolfman, portrayed Frankenstein's monster, portrayed Dracula, Quasimodo, Fu Manchu, did the Mummy, character of 1,000 Faces. Paul Naschy was the Spanish Lon Chaney. You know, the guy that everybody went to portray their monsters. And a classically trained stage actor had the presence to do so. You know, had stage presence, knew how to put himself out there, was a mastery of his physicality, knew how to portray these monsters because he absolutely loved them. And he loved shooting monster films. That was his focus, predominantly werewolf movies, because the man loved werewolves. Yeah, because his character, the character he created, which was, if I remember correctly, he was the Count Valdemar. I want to make sure that Daninsky? Yeah, Count Valdemar Daninsky. Yes, Valdemar Daninsky. That character, Paul Naschy has played a bunch of times. But the interesting thing is that Daninsky, the kind of backstory for his werewolf character is kind of different in every single film he plays him in. So it's constantly changing, which is interesting. It's like a new approach. That just means you don't need to watch all of his movies to get any kind of continuity, because there really isn't any. But you just get to see Paul Naschy play a werewolf many, many times in his career, and it's just such a fascinating story, because as an actor, he really exploded and became, and had a fantastic career going on. Everything was up, but things took a turn for the worse when he started. When he took his hand in directing, and unfortunately, it didn't go well. And Naschy, I think, unfortunately, was a victim of his own fame and may have kind of swallowed his own hype a little bit, because all the praise that he got and the awards that he received for his monster portrayals, when he tried to direct, which is a completely different beast, the feedback was not great, and people did not treat him so kindly. And that, apparently, from what is understood, had a devastating effect on his mental health. And so breakdowns and depression, not to mention that when he dropped a film that I believe was Inquisition. When that came out, he got skewered on it. Absolutely skewered. It was a costume drama, and he got brutally raked in the press. And at the time, the film didn't break even, and it lost a ton of money. And I think Operation Mantis was like the big failure. And so he got raked in there and completely eaten alive. And at the time that happened, his father passed away. And right before the reviews came out, his longtime business partner deuced out on him. So his the moment things started to go bad, his business partner sold his shares and dipped out. Augusto Bue, but Augusto took off and left him. His father passed away from, I believe, pancreatic cancer, and just it was another part of the guy could not catch a break. Okay, and I believe one of his co-producers, Julia Sally, retired after Operation Mantis failed. So Operation Mantis came out, got completely destroyed. He went into a depression. All of his business partners just up and left. Julia retired. Takeda died of pancreatic cancer. Augusto just sold the shares and just bounced out. No one like this. And then I think it was a couple of years later, his dad passed away, and his dad Enrique passed away of a heart attack when he was out fishing, and the guy just couldn't catch a break and just fell into depression. It was just that. Fortunately, his wife was able to kind of like bring him out of that and save him. And he tried to make a comeback. And unfortunately, I think in 87, or no, it was 91, he wound up having a near fatal heart attack that derailed his career a second time when he was trying to like make his way back, and then he had a heart attack. And then he tried to come back again and was doing work until unfortunately he himself was diagnosed with, I believe, cancer. Pancreatic cancer. And he died at the age of 75. With his career never really recovered, because in the 2000s, in the late 90s and the 2000s, he's pretty much been relegated to playing monsters in adult content horror films and stuff that was just like, that was just being, very, very niche stuff, genre, like very, very sub genre pieces, and making scant money here and there, but not a lot of people knew who he was. And I felt that kind of made me sad, because the guy was legendary, given what he was, given at the time when his career kicked off. Career kicks off in the freaking, I think it was in the 60s. Career kicks off in the 60s. And he's a legendary monster actor, like up there with Chaney. Chaney and Naschy's, names are spoken in the same breath. And then to see the decline of his career and kind of like his almost relegation to obscurity, except for those who really know his work, those who were brought up on his work, or those who know him because he was a Spanish legend. So I'm glad that we got to talk about Tomb of the Werewolf, because it's not the first Paul Naschy film that we've talked about. Paul Naschy has showed up in other films that we've mentioned on the show, but he wasn't a lead actor in them. He was just, like secondary, or, like he was like a background character. But I'm glad that we got the operation to talk about him, because I think that he deserves a little bit more honoring or credit than I think he often gets. His filmography was fairly long. A lot of acting pieces did, and he directed a number of films. Not all of them are terrible. Operation Mantis obviously was very, very, very bad, but he had a good period of about a decade there where he was churning out some pretty solid material. So just that acting and directing, different beasts. But he dedicated himself to the life, That was his goal. He wanted to become, from an early age, he wanted to portray those monsters in film that he had grown up watching. For a dude who grew, being born in, 1934, this guy grew up influenced by classic, Universal monsters. The original Dracula was out, came out in 1931, like 3 years before he was born. He saw those movies, Frankenstein, Karloff, and Lugosi and Chaney. He grew up watching them, and then he himself became them and got to do it. That's the dream right there. He made it happen, and that's pretty fucking amazing for a guy. There's a reason he won the Gold Medal of Merit in Fine Arts, that's bestowed by Spain, by the country. So I wanted to give him credit. I wanted to give Paul Naschy credit, an unsung legend in the horror genre. If you're not familiar with his movies, a lot of them are subtitled. A lot of them maybe not, but so obviously they're Spanish. So if you speak Spanish, you'll be great. Check out his Hombre Lobo series. His Hombre Lobo series is fantastic. It's the number of films that he portrayed a werewolf in, and then of course all of his other stuff. So many good films. Going all the way back to 1966. So definitely give those things a look. Definitely check them out. Paul Naschy, and kind of an unsung legend that I'm glad even though it's Tomb of the Werewolf. Fred Olen Ray, not a bad dude, but we talked about his stuff before. The films that he's worked on, I think we talked about, brain leeches and shit like that. But Alienator, Wizards of the Demon Sword, shit like that. Possessed by the Night. Fred Olen Ray, we talked about him because that's what his focus is these kinds of movies. And he'll grab, and if he can afford him, he'll cast him, which is why Paul Naschy got the role. It's a friggin', that's what the character is, but yeah, definitely give it a look, or check out the filmography of Paul Naschy. Now, the question that I have for the audience, and I know we were just talking about an obscure, legendary Spanish actor. Maybe check out some of his films before you answer, but I'm going to pose the question out there anyway. For those who may be inspired to go and take a look at Paul Naschy's work at the body of his work, the work that he did. You know, let us know down in the comments below what you feel is Paul Naschy's best, or what is your favorite of the horror films that he was able to complete in his lifetime. He did a number of them. So let us know down in the comments below, weekinhorror@gmail.com, your favorite or what you think is the best Paul Naschy film. Because I think I think his career deserves a second look. I think it does. For those who are not familiar with him, you know, give it an opportunity. It doesn't have to be Tomb of the Werewolf. That movie's not great. I mean, other than to see the Paul Naschy scenes where he plays a werewolf, and it's actually pretty, like ripping full, like, you know, neck pieces out and shit like that. It's really fantastic, blood everywhere, really good stuff. But yeah, definitely give those a look. Definitely. I think you'll be surprised. All right, well, that is our last one for the night, and you know what that means. You know what time it is. What time is it, everybody? Say it. You hear it. You hear it. The hearkening of the bell that tells you it is trivia time. That's never going to get old. It is never, ever, ever going to get old. So, yes, it is trivia time, everybody's favorite time of night here at Week in Horror every single week. So, be the first person in the live chat to get the correct answer to this be the first person in the live chat to get the correct answer to this trivia question, and you will win a special item from the Week in Horror store. I see you guys are posting up the photos of the stuff that you've won, and yes, Travis, I intend to get the correct person. I am rested, I am focused, I am on point, and if I sell this even further, I'm going to fuck it up. So we're just going to run with it. Okay? Is that good for you? Is that good for you? Is that good for you? Good. All right, let's get on with it. Be the first person in the live chat to get the correct answer to this trivia question, and you will get a special item for the Week in Horror store. And I see everybody's been posting up photos of their winnings in the Show Your Swag channel. So definitely, if you're on the Discord, the link is in the description. Put up those photos. Those new mugs, those No Lives Matter mugs, those look fantastic. I'm loving them. They look great. You know, so definitely put up those photos, okay? Because I like to see that. I like to see that swag. All right, here is your trivia question for tonight. Get those Google fingers ready. Finglers. What film was Paul Naschy's first ever portrayal of a werewolf? What film was Paul Naschy's first ever portrayal of a werewolf? Let's know the name of the film down there in the live chat. First person to get the correct answer gets a special item from the Week in Horror store. What film was Paul Naschy's first ever portrayal of a werewolf? Come on, I know someone's got it. They're looking right now. I hear the tapping. I hear it. I hear it through the internet. The sound of 1,000 keys tapping at once, trying to find out Paul Naschy's first film as a werewolf. So who's got the correct answer, the first right answer? I know they're pouring in. They're pouring in. They're pouring in. Let me see. There's got to catch it up. And, I got the live chat up. Let me check this one because that thing is friggin' delayed. All right. Travis Brown says The Mark of the Wolf. So, Travis Brown says The Mark of the Wolf. Okay. Fucking hell. I'm not going to be that guy. You're close, Travis. Okay. Dylan Prell technically got it correct. It's The Mark of the Wolfman. The Mark of the Wolfman came out in 1968, and I know you said The Mark of the Wolf. Okay. And because I messed up in the last 2 weeks, I almost feel like a douche to like hold you to that standard, but I know you're typing fast. So, but Travis Brown, it was on the right path. Yeah, the Mark of the Wolf. Okay, Travis Brown was the first one to get that. So, and I'd say a number of people coming in afterwards. Mark of the Wolfman, yep. Werewolf vs. Vampire Woman, no. Night of the Werepanther, nope. Retorno del Hombre Lobo. Oh, I like that. That's nice. Yes, Retorno del Hombre Lobo. You could have put it in the that's Return of the Wolfman. Return of Wolfman. So the Mark of the Wolfman. So Mark of the Wolf. Mark of the Wolfman is what it was. So, but I will give that to Travis Brown because I know you were typing fast. I get that. So congratulations, Travis Brown. Well done. You were the first person to get it in there. Dylan Prell was a close second, about a minute after that, with Mark of the Wolfman, which is what that title was. So well done, Travis. I got it correct. You know? Oh, okay, fantastic. Oh, wow, very generous of you, Travis. It says, let Dylan win because I missed the wolf name. Congratulations, Dylan. Dylan Prell. Dylan Prell has won. I do believe, Dylan, that is your first win here at Week in Horror. I do believe so. I think so. Dylan, if that is your first win, which I think it is, I don't recall you being before. So congratulations, Dylan Prell. Well, thank you very much. Very generous of you, Travis Brown. Congratulations, Dylan. Dylan, if we don't have your shipping details, get them over to us via weekinhorror@gmail.com, or you can direct message me via Discord and just get them to me that way. But yeah. Oh, it's your second time. Okay, so let me check and see. Get us your updated details, because if there's any change there we need to make sure we have the most updated shipping details for you. So make sure that it's going to the right place, because sometimes we run into that. But nonetheless, congratulations, Dylan. Thank you very much, Travis Brown, for your generosity. That is awesome. I know you're typing fast. I get it. That's why I didn't want to hold it against you, because I know people are getting this whole bunch of words that were in there. So, but well done, everybody. Thank you very much. That's very, very cool of you. Very generous. Congratulations, Dylan. Make sure we have your updated shipping details. We will get that printed and shipped to you ASAP. I've got you written down. Well done. Second time winning. Fantastic. Well done. All right. And that, Horror Fiends, is going to conclude this day late, but hopefully not $1 short episode of the Week in Horror podcast. All right. Thank you all for like and subscribe button, and be sure to tickle that bell so that you never miss a future episode. Join us next week when we look back at the creepy apocalypse horror It Comes at Night, the descent into madness of The Third Eye, the legendary action horror Predator. We're finally going to talk about Predator. Yes, Schwarzenegger. Alien action. Fucking awesome. And the return of Officer Cordell in Maniac Cop 2. So many good ones. Be sure to check out Josh Olsen's store at badsamurai.store. He does all the awesome artwork. You see splattered all over our merchandise, which you can find over at Teespring. And for more from Week in Horror, check out all the bloody links down in the description. Follow us on the socials for the daily splatter. Join our Discord for watch parties, big announcements, all kinds of horror shenanigans, premieres of all the stuff that we do behind the scenes here, and support the show through channel memberships here, Super Chats, PayPal, or even through our Patreon for as little as $1 a month, where you can get early access to things like our Front Row series, additional content, all kinds of fun stuff. What are you waiting for? Join us! $1 a month. As always, a huge, giant thank you to each and every single one of you for your continued support. You are the most amazing and beautiful audience a horror film podcast could possibly have. I have been your host, JL. We will see you all next week. And as always, stay scared.